In the 5th year of our marriage, my husband cheated on me. His mistress was the campus beauty he'd pined after in college, the one who'd turned him down flat. I calmly asked for a divorce. He was stunned. Then furious. I've spared your feelings by never bringing her home. We're both women, can't you show a little decency? The Ashfords went bankrupt years ago. Do you still think you're some untouchable wealthy heiress? He looked me up and down with contempt, let out a cold laugh, and stormed out. After that, he moved into a multi-million-dollar mansion and flaunted his relationship with Scarlett done openly. He threw lavish parties for business associates and declared boldly over dinner, "Scarlett is the white rose of my youth. The woman who owns my heart. Clara Ashford will accept this, whether she likes it or not." The guests murmured among themselves, all waiting to see me humiliated. I didn't cry or make a scene. I went about my work, calm and unruffled. 2 months prior, my brother had called me from overseas. Thanks to his relentless work, our father had been fully exonerated of the bribery allegations, and the Ashford Group had rebuilt itself from the ground up. It was set to list on the New York Stock Exchange within months. I was sitting on the sofa working on my handicrafts when the front door slammed open. Lucas Bennett stumbled in, reeking of alcohol. He swayed over to me, tossed his briefcase aside, and slurred loudly, "Had a few too many drinks with Mr. Wallace at the business dinner tonight." I set down my work, stood up, and loosened his tie before pouring him a bowl of hangover tonic, still wasting time on those silly little crafts. Lucas glanced at the supplies on the table, his eyes full of disdain. I handed his empty bowl to Aunt May, our housekeeper, and explained gently, "Mrs. Carter is hosting a banquet next month, and she's taken an interest in my handiwork." Lucas frowned. All that society wife schmoozing and small talk exhausting just to watch. He picked up the package he'd tossed aside and tore it open. Inside was a Hermes handbag. "You've been working hard around the house lately. I picked this out for you at the boutique myself. All the society wives are carrying this style right now." I heard. I took it and set it casually on a shelf in the living room. "Aren't you going to try it on?" He blinked, taken aback by my indifference. For the first 5 years of our marriage, Lucas had showered me with jewelry, skincare products, and designer clothes. I'd never dampened his mood, even when I didn't care for something. I'd feign delight and shower him with praise. This past year, he'd stopped bothering with gifts and sweet gestures, and I'd stopped pretending to care. Noticing my cool demeanor, his face fell. Then he forced a smile and said, "Is my wife still upset about me missing her birthday?" My birthday had been on the 18th of last month. He'd stumbled home after midnight, long after I'd fallen asleep. Aunt May had had to remind him what day it was. He'd left on a business trip first thing the next morning and hadn't come back until yesterday. I shook my head, my voice soft. "Honey, there's something I need to talk to you about." Lucas's brow furrowed, as if he already knew what was coming. He cleared his throat, his face tight with impatience. "If this is about your father, save it. I went against my entire family to marry you. Shielded you from all the public gossip. I did more than my part. Clara, you're just a housewife. You spend your days drinking tea and admiring flowers with other rich wives. You have no idea how cutthroat the business world is. How hard I work." I listened in silence until he finished. Never interrupt someone when they're speaking. That was a rule the Ashfords had drilled into me since childhood. "This is about you and me. Only us." I handed him the papers I'd been holding. Lucas let out a relieved breath, a smile tugging at his lips as he looked down to read them. "You had me worried there for a second. I thought you..." He stopped mid-sentence, his eyes blowing wide as he stared at the document in disbelief. "Divorce papers." I nodded, my gaze steady. "That's right, divorce papers." Most people would have said I was lucky to be Lucas Bennett's wife, that I was blessed. 6 years prior, the Ashford Group had collapsed overnight. My father had been arrested on bribery charges and taken in for investigation. Friends and relatives had scattered like rats from a sinking ship, everyone except Lucas. He'd defied all public opinion and proposed to me, the disgraced Ashford heiress, in grand, public fashion. I'd heard his own father had gone on a hunger strike to protest the marriage, but Lucas had refused to back down, raised as the heir to a business empire. I'd had both beauty and brains, the perfect candidate for any wealthy family's daughter-in-law. Everyone agreed that if not for my family's sudden ruin, I could have married far better, even a self-made billionaire, let alone the son of some old money dynasty. Lucas was handsome, with a family firm under his name. It was no grand empire, but he was undeniably a wealthy, eligible bachelor. In everyone's eyes, his willingness to marry me in my disgrace was nothing short of a miracle for me. Overnight, the press stopped talking about the Ashford scandal and started praising Lucas as a loyal, honorable man, grateful for the mentorship my father had given him early in his career. After we married, we'd been happy, so happy that everyone envied our love. Our first year, at a banquet, when a Mr. Hale had spoken disrespectfully to me, Lucas had blown up on the spot, berating him until he apologized publicly. Our second year, he'd spent a fortune and countless nights handcrafting an intricate necklace to give me a birthday I'd never forget. Our third year, on a trip, when my feet grew sore from walking, he'd carried me through the crowded streets, drawing envious stares from everyone we passed. Our fifth year, he took a mistress. Her name was Scarlett Dunn. She worked for him, and they'd gone to college together. I'd first laid eyes on her at Bennett Enterprises' annual gala at the end of last year. I hadn't wanted to go, but Mrs. Carter had insisted, saying no wife should never show her face at her husband's company. That night, a female employee performed a solo dance, sensual, graceful. It took everyone's breath away. The employees sitting next to me whispered among themselves, "Know who that is? She went to college with Mr. Bennett, was the campus beauty." From what I hear, rumor has it he chased her for years and she turned him down flat. Her dad went bankrupt, so she moved back home and ended up here by chance. Shame. Though Mr. Bennett's already married. Mrs. Carter heard them and scolded them at once. Mr. and Mrs. Bennett are perfectly happy together. Don't spread gossip. I nibbled on hors d'oeuvres and said nothing. When the dance ended, Scarlett sauntered over to me in her expensive costume, her hips swaying with every step. She bowed politely, her voice sickly sweet. "You must be Mrs. Bennett. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. You're every bit as remarkable as I'd heard." She tilted her head and smiled, a knowing little smirk playing on her lips. There was smugness in her eyes, and a flicker of resentment too. A few of the male business partners in attendance chuckled under their breath, clearly waiting for a show. I picked up a plate of fruit from the table beside me. "For you. Run along now." Scarlett froze, her smile faltering into awkwardness. She glanced over at Lucas across the room, then took the plate and mumbled, "Thank you, Mrs. Bennett." She carried the fruit over to the employee tables and sat down in silence, saying nothing more. Mrs. Carter looked puzzled. Why would she walk all the way over here just to say hello? I sipped my red wine and smiled. Probably thinks we have something in common. Wanted to feel close to me, I suppose. Now, the room was dead quiet. After a long, heavy silence, Lucas finally found his voice. He shook the divorce papers in his hand, a half smirk on his face. "Clara, why the sudden divorce? Explain yourself." I spoke calmly. "When you proposed, you promised my father I'd be your only wife, that you'd never be unfaithful. You broke that promise. Our marriage is over." Lucas looked me up and down, stunned. "You know about Scarlett?" I nodded. "I know everything." He took a deep breath and sighed, his voice steady now. "Good that you know. Saves me from sneaking around all the time. Scarlett's family fell apart, same as yours. I feel for her, and she was the girl I worshipped in college. When she came to me, I couldn't say no. It's just human nature. Clara." He watched my face as he spoke, and when I didn't react, he frowned and kept going. "She knows about the promise I made to you. She never wanted to take your place. You're my wife. Scarlett lives off-site. I'll see her Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I come home to you." I drew in a sharp breath. Why go through all that trouble? Just sign these papers and marry her. Wouldn't that be easier? Lucas's face darkened at once. "I've respected our marriage by never bringing her into this house. We're both women, can't you be more tolerant?" I let out a cold laugh. "That new hire of yours, no experience. But she's your top secretary. That's Scarlett, isn't it? You were with her on my birthday. That's why you came home so late." And that month-long business trip. You were on honeymoon with her, weren't you? And this handbag, they sell them in pairs. Right. One limited edition. One standard. I'm guessing the limited one went to her. Lucas's face grew darker and darker, until he suddenly roared. Name one wealthy man who doesn't have someone on the side. You haven't given me a child in 5 years. I have to think about the Bennett bloodline. Am I wrong for that? Haven't I been good to you all these years? You're throwing our marriage away over this. Where does that leave me? He fell silent for a moment, then burst into cold, bitter laughter. You don't actually want a divorce. You're just threatening me to secure your place as the wife. I hate it when women pull these cheap little tricks. You manipulative, conniving thing. It's repulsive. His face was cold, unrecognizable. He slammed the door on his way out, glancing back with a sneer. You'd fall apart if I actually divorced you. The Ashfords are finished. Know your place. You think you're still that adored little heiress everyone envied. Without me, you're nothing. After Lucas left, silence settled over the house again. Aunt May brought me a bowl of calming herbal soup, gentle as always. Drink this, madam. Calm your nerves. I took 2 sips, then went to the study to work. A thick stack of papers sat on my desk. At the very bottom was an official letter. It had arrived 2 months prior, from the district attorney's office. After thorough investigation, Harold Ashford has been fully exonerated of all bribery charges and is hereby released without conviction. My father had been out of prison for months. My brother had flown him overseas to recover. I hadn't told Lucas because I'd wanted it to be a surprise. Once I'd found out about his infidelity a month ago, there'd been no point. Lucas moved out. His mother came demanding answers. She stormed into the house, her face thunderous. Clara, I agreed to let Lucas marry you because I thought a girl from a good family would be gracious and reasonable. But now you've driven him out of his own home. This is unacceptable. His sister Mia chimed in, her voice sharp with mockery. It's such a waste for my brother. If he'd married someone with a family that could actually help his business, he'd be so much further ahead. And at least he'd have kids by now. After 5 years of marriage, even if people find out he has a mistress, they'll understand. You need to know your place, sister-in-law. His mother paused, then went on. She's blunt, but she means well. Lucas is a good man at heart. You haven't given him a child in 5 years. If he divorced you, you'd have nothing, a mistress on the side. He's being more than generous with you. I sipped my tea and looked up at the mother and daughter before me, dripping in pearls and diamonds. If I hadn't married into this family, they'd never have the lifestyle they enjoyed now. The Ashford group had been liquidated after my father's arrest, but a portion of our wealth had remained untouched. Me dowry, set aside for me by my father. My jewelry alone was worth tens of millions. The truth was, his mother had only agreed to the marriage because their company was desperate for cash flow, and my dowry had kept them afloat. For that reason, the Bennetts had treated me with decency the first few years, but now that their company was thriving, they'd started to get ideas. I set down my teacup and smiled coldly. Rest assured, even if Lucas's devoted husband act falls apart, it won't cost him much. He was never worth all that much to begin with. Mother and daughter both flew into a rage at once. He's worth more than you'll ever be. How dare you speak of him that way? You'd better learn to be more forgiving. You know how my brother is. Don't end up humiliated and penniless. I knew they didn't actually care if we stayed married forever. They were just scared a divorce would cut into the Ashford money they'd grown accustomed to. Lucas had spent years building his image as a loving husband, and it had won him plenty of public favor. You can't have everything. No one gets that lucky. The Ashfords don't do love-struck fools. What's mine, I keep. Every last bit. Mia had been right about one thing. Lucas was impulsive. Once he moved out, he went public with Scarlett without hesitation. He gave interviews to the press, painting me as a boring, rigid, domineering wife. Scarlett, he said, was fun, fiery, sexy and free-spirited woman he couldn't bear to miss out on a second time. Lucas knew how to work public opinion. His devoted husband act was over, but he still came out looking like the good guy. Everyone called me ungrateful, said I'd thrown away a good life. Scarlett was no longer his secretary, no longer his dirty little secret, no longer the homewrecker everyone would scorn. She wore designer clothes, carried limited edition handbags, drove a luxury car, and lived in that multi-million-dollar mansion. She went everywhere with Lucas, to every gala and business dinner, with her dancer's body, her fiery charm, and her knack for small talk. She was the belle of every ball. People kept saying, Mr. Bennett and Ms. Dunn, what a perfect match. They were made for each other. All that time, Lucas never came home. I called him again and again, pushing him to sign the divorce papers. He kept saying he needed more time. I knew why he was dragging his feet. He was scared I'd take half his money. 3 more days. After that, I'm filing for divorce with proof of your infidelity. Fine, Clara, if you're that determined, we'll divorce. Don't come crying to me later. 3 days later, Lucas showed up and signed the papers without hesitation, with our lawyers present. We finalized the division of assets. Lucas was far more devious than I'd given him credit for. He'd been quietly siphoning off millions in assets ever since he'd started seeing Scarlett. Luckily, I'd been prepared. I'd caught him moving tens of millions after I'd filed for divorce, not all of it, but enough. He flew into a rage. Clara Ashford, I never took you for such a gold digger. Chasing me over pennies. You're the one at fault. I'm entitled to more. After a fierce legal battle, I walked away with 30 million, far more than the 5 million he'd tried to leave me with. See, that's all you get in the end. Scarlett watched me, smug and triumphant. Lucas put his arm around her and looked down at me from his high horse. I told you, you get nothing from divorcing me. I rolled my eyes and ignored him. He had no idea the Ashford Group had already risen from the ashes. Divorcing me was the worst financial mistake of his life. Men like him didn't deserve success. He deserved to lose everything. After the divorce, my father and brother moved back home. They relocated most of the business back stateside. My father had kept a very low profile since his return, so almost no one knew that the now famous Aurora Group was the old Ashford Group, reborn. My brother had been raised overseas, groomed as the heir and kept out of the public eye for his protection. Hardly anyone knew he was Harold Ashford's son. Even Lucas had never met him. He only knew I had a brother who'd lived abroad his whole life. All these years, Lucas's company had thrived only because my brother had quietly propped it up. After the divorce, to get back at him for hurting me, my brother had all their suppliers cut ties with Bennett Enterprises. Almost overnight, the company lost more than half its business. Lucas panicked. He made inquiries everywhere, somehow got hold of my brother's address, and showed up at the office with gifts. Clara, he's out front. Want to go see him? My brother asked gently. Concerned, I shook my head. No, you're a businessman first. Do what's best for the group. If he can't deliver more value than the other partners, there's no reason to work with him. My brother nodded, relieved. I'm glad you're over him. He had his staff show Lucas to the door. 4 days after that, Lucas showed up with gifts, begging for a meeting. Just let me see Mr. Ashford. 3 minutes. That's all I need. It's fine. I'll wait right here. Don't mind me. He groveled. He flattered. He tried every trick in the book, all for a chance to speak to my brother. I'd never thought the proud Lucas Bennett would ever beg like that. To keep him from pestering me, my brother settled the matter quickly. He never revealed that we were siblings. Instead, he sent an assistant to Bennett Enterprises to explain exactly why they were being dropped and how far they fell short of Aurora Group's standards. Lucas finally understood the gap between his company and the real players. He accepted it and stopped coming around. The next time I saw Lucas, I was walking out of the VIP lounge at Serafina Luxury Atelier. He was there with Scarlett, helping her pick out clothes. They must have had a big event coming up. Scarlett was beaming as she browsed the limited edition gowns, pestering the sales associate with endless questions. Lucas stood beside her, frowning slightly, distracted like he had something heavy on his mind. At the sound of my footsteps, they both looked up. Lucas froze, stunned. What are you doing here? Serafina was the most exclusive, most expensive couture house in the state. Only the wealthiest, most prominent clients shopped there. And the VIP lounge. Word was only a list celebrities and billionaire CEOs ever set foot in it. Well, if it isn't the former Mrs. Bennett. Fancy running into you here. Scarlett spoke first, her voice sharp with provocation. I glanced at her and ignored her, turning to the sales associate trailing behind me. Wrap up the gown I just tried on. Right away, ma'am. The associate replied respectfully. Scarlett bristled at being ignored. She pointed at the gown I'd selected. I'll take that one. I lifted my eyes and met her gaze. She smirked. Your husband chose me over you. Surely you won't be petty over a single dress. My face was impassive. It's not about pettiness. Can you even afford it? Lucas's jaw tightened. He couldn't tell if I was ignoring him on purpose, or if our exchange had just gotten under his skin. With me here, of course she can afford it, he said coldly. Scarlett clung to his arm. Delighted. Thank you, honey. The sales associate glanced at me for confirmation, then said, that will be $5 million. Sir, will you be paying by card? $5 million. Scarlett froze. Lucas looked just as shocked. The most he'd ever spent on a single piece of clothing was a few $100,000, at most. Sir, would you like to proceed with the purchase? Yes. Lucas glanced at me, then gritted his teeth. Don't you have a sale going on? Can we get 20 off this? The sales associate didn't answer right away. She looked over at me. I nodded. Grant it. Scarlett scowled. Why are you asking her? She's just another customer. The associate hurried to explain. All discount requests have to be approved by the owner. Ma'am. Scarlett's eyes went wide. She's the owner. Lucas stared at me, stunned. No way. You must be some rich guy's mistress. I slapped him across the face. I was done explaining myself. You. Scarlett watched me walk away, too furious to speak. The Aurora Group new product launch. My brother had invited all the biggest names in business. My sister-in-law had urged me to dress up, but I had other meetings right after the event and didn't want to change. So I wore a simple, understated dress. Inside the venue, I was chatting with Mrs. Walsh when someone shoved me from behind. The red wine in my glass nearly sloshed onto her dress. Expensive gown, isn't it? Good thing you didn't ruin Mrs. Walsh's dress. Some other woman's husband would have had to pay for it. That sickly, fake sweet voice was familiar. I turned around and saw Scarlett, wearing that $5 million red gown, a week apart. And she was even more insufferable than before. Other woman's husband. Clara, didn't you break up with that guy a while back? Mrs. Walsh gave Scarlett a wary look, then stepped in front of me, shielding me. Before I could answer, Scarlett laughed. Dumped already? Did his wife find out? That explains why you're dressed so plain now. Clara is single. You're the one who's the homewrecker. Mrs. Walsh said loudly, coming to my defense. Everyone nearby turned to look. Mrs. Carter and Mrs. Foster, who I'd had tea with for years, walked over and joined in, scolding Scarlett. Scarlett froze, caught off guard with nothing to say. I stood back and watched coldly. Scarlett still saw me as some washed-up nobody who had to leech off men she thought I'd become a mistress and gotten dumped. Mrs. Walsh snorted. Don't think I didn't see you push her. You almost ruined my dress. Could you even afford to replace it? I know exactly who you are. You stole a married man, and now his company's going under. Money must be tight. Scarlett's eyes welled up with tears. My brother heard the commotion and walked over. What's going on here? Mrs. Walsh told him everything that had happened. My brother frowned, his gaze fixed on Scarlett. His voice was sharp and unyielding. Apologize. Lucas was begging my brother for business, so Scarlett didn't dare cross him, swallowing her pride. She gritted her teeth and forced out an I'm sorry, but she couldn't let it go. She remembered that my brother had cut ties with Lucas's company, so she thought she had nothing to lose. Mr. Ashford, she said, does your wife know you have a mistress? This one right here is divorced. You know, my brother let out a cold laugh. My wife is right over there. Go tell her yourself and see what she has to say. The onlookers rolled their eyes at her and drifted away. After exchanging pleasantries with a few guests, I stayed by my brother's side for the rest of the reception. After getting shut down by him, Scarlett went around schmoozing with everyone else, fishing for business deals. But the second they heard she was from Bennett Enterprises, they shut her down. No one would even take her business card. It must have been the most humiliating night of Scarlett's life. Even in the most expensive gown in the room, no one would give her the time of day. When Lucas walked over, She burst into tears and complained to him about everything. Then Lucas started walking toward me. My brother's brow furrowed. I didn't invite him. What's he doing here? Want me to have them both thrown out? No. Let me see what he wants. My brother nodded and stepped away, giving us space. Lucas stopped in front of me. He looked tired. The company troubles were clearly weighing on him. So this is why you wanted a divorce? I frowned. Why what? You became someone's mistress. I said nothing, if that's what he wanted to believe. Fine. I was done explaining. He looked at me with contempt. How is being some guy's side piece better than being my wife? Have you lost your mind? Curious to see his reaction, I played along. It's not so bad. I'm happy. He leaned in, his voice low and urgent. Stop throwing your life away. I still have feelings for you. Come back to me. You'll be my wife, first and always. I almost laughed out loud. He paused, then went on. A man as powerful as Ethan Ashford would never leave his wife for a divorcee like you. Don't fool yourself. Come back. Remarry me. You'll still be the lady of the house. He acted like he was begging for another chance. But he still planned on having both women at his beck and call. I felt sick to my stomach. I laid it all out for him. Ethan Ashford is my brother, and there is no way in hell I'm ever getting back together with you. Your company grew as fast as it did because my brother propped you up high. End the scenes. Most of your products didn't meet quality standards. She had his own people redo the work. When you missed deadline after deadline, he cleaned up your messes so no one would find out. You say you love me, but you took a mistress and siphoned off our money. Is that what love looks like to you? Lucas's face went pale. He's really your brother. I put Scarlett in charge of quality control later. I had no idea. I didn't want to hear any more excuses. I made an excuse and walked away. The launch event officially began. My brother took the stage to give his opening remarks. Thunderous applause filled the room. Mr. Ashford is a genius, building all this at his age. His sister is no slouch either. I heard she led the development of this new product line. That woman standing next to him earlier, his sister. She's brilliant and beautiful. The guests whispered their admiration as they listened to his speech. Scarlett's face grew darker and darker. Finally, she shot to her feet and yelled, "Sister, she's his mistress." Plain and simple. Everyone around her stared at her like she'd lost her mind, terrified she'd say something even worse. Lucas grabbed her and forced her back into her seat. Are you insane? What are you doing? Haven't you embarrassed me enough? Scarlett had never heard him speak to her so harshly. She fell silent, shocked, her eyes filling with hurt tears. My brother shot her a withering glare, barely containing his anger. And now, please welcome my sister Clara Ashford to the stage. The room erupted in murmurs. I knew she was his sister. That woman is delusional. Calling her a mistress. Talk about eating your words. Scarlett froze, gaping. No, that's impossible. Lucas's face was unreadable, a storm of emotions crossing it. I walked gracefully onto the stage and shared the vision behind the new product line, along with my take on the market landscape. Thunderous applause broke out once more. Lucas stared at me, his eyes full of admiration, surprise, guilt, regret. He muttered under his breath, "I never knew you had this in you." In his eyes, I'd always been nothing but a useless housewife, tending to chores all day. He'd forgotten I'd graduated top of my class in economics from an Ivy League university. He never knew how much I'd struggled when he'd said, "You take care of the home. I'll take care of the money. I'll provide for you." How hard it had been to set aside my own ambitions to be a housewife. Now, he meant nothing to me. The thought brought a clear, calm resolve. Before I finish, I'd like to thank my ex-husband, Lucas Bennett. If not for him, I might still be a housewife today. And for the record, I am not anyone's mistress. Scarlett Dunn is the mistress. I'd planned to spare them some dignity, but Scarlett had pushed me too many times. I owed her nothing. With those words, anyone who wanted to work with Aurora Group would turn their backs on Bennett Enterprises. Lucas's company was finished. "I'm sorry for everything," he said, trying to save face. "Scarlett meant no harm. She just misunderstood you. Don't be too hard on her." Hard on her? Am I not telling the truth? I laughed coldly. Scarlett suddenly thought of something and cackled. So what if I slept my way up? At least my father isn't a convicted criminal. Working with people like you aren't you scared they'll end up just like their crooked dad? Just then, my father walked out from backstage. To everyone's astonishment, he took the mic and told the full story. How he'd been framed. And how he'd been fully exonerated of all charges. Lucas couldn't meet my father's eyes the entire time. Guilt was written all over his face. He knew perfectly well that if he'd spoken up back then, my father could have cleared his name much sooner. But he hadn't wanted to cross the man who'd framed him. They were business partners. So he'd looked the other way. In that moment, I saw Lucas Bennett for exactly who he was. Clara, let me explain. Before he could finish, I had security escort him and Scarlett out of the building. Up until now, I'd gone easy on him. Now, the real payback was just beginning. 3 days later, I sent Lucas a video. In it, Scarlett was dressed provocatively, a number 5 sticker stuck to her waist, drinking while groped by a heavy-set foreign man in his 60s at a karaoke club. Afterwards, the two of them left laughing and headed for a nearby Love Hotel. I blocked him again right after sending it. Not long after, word got around that Lucas and Scarlett had split up. Scarlett had begged and pleaded, so Lucas hadn't kicked her out entirely. I'd let her stay on at the company, desperate to win him back. She'd slept with clients to land business deals for him. Soon enough, the wives of those executives found out and showed up at the office, beating her badly. She left with a black eye, a swollen face, and deep scratches all over her face, all but ruined, refusing to accept defeat. She faked a pregnancy to pressure Lucas into marrying her, hoping to salvage her reputation. Lucas was already sick of her. He flat out said the baby wasn't his. The argument turned physical. He shoved her hard. She fell to the floor, and her fake pregnancy was exposed for all to see. Lucas threw Scarlett out of the company and took over all her accounts himself. He ran himself ragged, chasing new business every day, but it was no use. Then he showed up at Aurora Group, looking for me. He got down on one knee, holding a bouquet of flowers. He begged me to give him another chance. He said he knew he'd been wrong. Clara, I was so wrong. I picked the wrong person. Scarlett's gone for good. Come back to me. I swear I'll only ever have eyes for you for the rest of my life. His so-called devotion was laughable. When he saw I wouldn't budge, he switched tactics. Clara, please, after everything we had, help me. I'm going to lose everything. You did this to yourself. He had no idea I'd shorted his company's stock, while he and Scarlett had been fighting and tearing each other apart. I'd poached every last member of his core technical team, and I'd stolen his few remaining clients, offering them 5% better margins. I spoke coldly. If you want, I'll buy your company for $2 million. Fine, $2 million. And it's none of my business ever again. I had my team handle the paperwork right away. As he was leaving, he looked at me with tears in his eyes. How did I end up like this? I lifted my gaze and met his. A man who wrongs his wife will never know true prosperity. After that, Lucas Bennett vanished from my life forever. Hey there, could you rate this story in the comments? Use a scale of 1 to 10. Please, I am begging you. It really means a lot to me. And if you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit follow.